region.
– 2019 started with stricter rules of the road for drivers in Ontario. Anyone convicted of distracted driving under the new laws will be punished with a license suspension, a hefty fine, and demerit points. The severity of the punishment increases with the number of subsequent offenses committed. Waterloo Regional Police Staff Sergeant Mike Hinsberger talks about the increased fines and what you need to know.
Distracted driving is really is a slang term that society has placed on the actual offense of having a cell phone, telecommunication handheld device, or having a screen visible to the driver in the vehicle. Those are the two basic sections that we deal with when we speak to distracted driving. So when we're doing enforcement out on the road, our officers are looking for people that are texting, talking on the cell phone without a hands-free device. Or they're looking at a computer screen or something like that if it's a nature or class of vehicle that is not exempt from having screen visible to a driver offense. And there's a number of exemptions and exceptions to that.
There is a list of exemptions and exceptions. It includes law enforcement, paramedic, fire departments, and natural resource officers.
And that's for only for job-related use of the phone. So it doesn't matter if it's law enforcement or somebody else, if it's for personal use and you're using a cell phone, we're as prohibited as anybody under that regard. So anyway, those are some of the exemptions, and there's a number of them that they're exempt, and you almost have to go into the regulation and go through them and read them, but because there's quite a list of exemptions. The fines certainly have increased, and for a first-time conviction, now in court, it's a minimum of a $500 fine, maximum of a $1,000 fine for the first-time offense. If it's a second-time offense, it is up to $2,000 fine. Third-time or subsequent offenses, $3,000 fine. With those, upon conviction in court, there's also now attached for first-time offense a 3-day license suspension. For a second-time offense, a 7-day license suspension, and a third and subsequent offense, 30-day license suspension for the use of the cell phones, and that's upon conviction in court. So again, some pretty significant changes compared to what it used to be, pre-January 1st, 2019. So with respect to the use of the phone, and I mean, if you're one of those people that is just got to have a cell phone in your hand all the time, when you're getting in a vehicle, I like to tell people, put it in the back seat, put it in your suitcase, put it in the trunk if you have to. Don't have it beside you where it's a temptation to use it, right? And as far as being able to utilize a telephone, lots of people out there, they have the Bluetooth, they have hands-free device, and those are totally legal, and that's okay, and that's acceptable. That's not to say that talking on the phone, even on a hands-free device, isn't going to be distracting when you're driving down the road, because it very much is. However, it's at this point, it's completely legal to use a hands-free device, and you can certainly talk on the phone that way. As you're probably aware, there's already a lot of manufacturers out there that has texting by voice in your car or in your truck, and again, as long as it's a hands-free mechanism, that's totally fine as well. Well, and you know what, when you go out on the 401 and some of the major highways, that's why they have tech stops and things at the en routes along the main corridors, and quite frankly, I think it's a good idea. You look at when you can use a cell phone in a vehicle, you have to be pulled over on the side of the road, stopped in a lawful position, so you have to be not only off the road, but you have to be parked lawfully off the road. So that might be a pull-off area or some other paved shoulder or somewhere that allows for stopping. So you have to be physically stopped is the other piece to that. And you can't be interfering with traffic as well. So there's a number of times when you can use the phone, but again, it's not when you're in an active lane of traffic, or for that matter, a lot of people have the misconception that you can use them because you're stopped at a red light. Well, you can't. You're still in a live lane of traffic. You're still very much involved in traffic flow, and you have to have your wits about you, as you know, when you're stopped at an intersection. So again, that's not acceptable. It's not lawful either.
While eating can fall under distracted driving, police say drinking a coffee while driving is not going to get you in hot water.
If the use of the coffee or the eating or whatever else you're doing in the vehicle results in a collision, you are probably going to be charged with careless driving on that. So careless driving, it covers the area of not having due care and attention of operating the vehicle on a highway. There's now new careless driving additions with respect to bodily harm or death. So if any of those actions cause bodily harm or death as a result of the collision, those are new sanctions that are placed into the Highway Traffic Act as well, and that's of July 1st of last year.
The following program is brought to you by Rogers Anyplace TV. Enjoy exclusive content for free. Visit RogersAnyplaceTV.com.
Our husband's left us nothing, and he wants his money.
What if we say no?
There's people who kill people.
We have 3 days to look and move like a team.
I want my kids to know that I didn't just sit there and take it.
You know the rules. You sleep in your bed. Max, did you teach him puppy eyes? Fine.
Join Nadia Matos for Crime Stoppers, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
And he fell. Whoa, I'm not driving. I'm way too stoned. How are you feeling, Beer?
Oh, since we had that talk, I'm not driving tonight at all.
What about you, Dave?
You only had a couple of drinks.
And only a couple of puffs.
I don't drink and drive. No way I'm getting behind the wheel when I smoked weed, too.
How are we getting home, then?
You can drive, Dave.
Come on, Dave.
Take one for the team, buddy.
Don't let weed and alcohol influence your decision to drive.
Yeah, I need a ride.
My name is Ben, and I'm a Rogers TV volunteer. My role here with Rogers is as a co-host of the show Think Millennial. I think I win. I think that the show brings incredible value to our community through highlighting the amazing individuals inside of our community, what they're doing, all of the different events that are going on. It's just a great place to be able to capture all of those amazing things.
On October the 17th, 2018, the recreational use of cannabis became legalized in Canada.
What you gonna do? I'm coming for you.
CAA South Central Ontario launched a humorous, tongue-in-cheek campaign highlighting the effects of using cannabis. Geared towards young drivers, it shows scenarios where reaction time, motor skills, and judgment are critical. Teresa DeFelice explains the #Don'tDriveHigh awareness campaign.
And this really is about trying to get out some messaging about the need to have a sobering second thought before consuming cannabis and getting behind the wheel. We need to get messages out there that consuming cannabis does have an impact on road safety. It is dangerous to get behind the wheel while impaired, and consuming cannabis does actually impair you. And the research shows that as well. And so, you know, really we're trying to get the message that in a funny way, in a way that actually speaks the language of today, that makes sense on how people are consuming these types of messages today, and this group is consuming messages. And so, you know, it's a little bit more lighthearted, but we're still driving home a serious message that you know, although you may feel like you're not impaired or the same as impaired if you were just consuming alcohol, it actually does have an impact. And there are other ways to get home.
In Ontario, cannabis legislation closely resembles laws around alcohol, especially where a vehicle is involved. Ontarians are not only prohibited from driving under the influence of cannabis, but the Ontario law clearly states that it's forbidden to drive with open cannabis in the vehicle, whether the vehicle is moving or not. Even a driver who's parked with the engine off would be in violation of Ontario's cannabis law if there were open cannabis.
How are you tonight? Good, how are you? I'm good, thank you. Ride program, any alcohol?
There's a very structured process that we go through for roadside testing with cannabis, or any drug for that matter. It's not just focused on cannabis. There's a wide array of drugs that officers can test for physically roadside. There's a couple of parameters that we operate within when we're doing testing for that type of thing, but there's something called a standardized field sobriety testing process. That is a roadside test. It's a three-part test that officers who are certified to do SFST testing will go through roadside. So a couple of those are physical testing. There is things like eye nystagmus that comes into play with that. So once that test is done roadside, it would be comparative to with alcohol, for instance, for somebody that's being tested on a roadside instrument screening device for alcohol. So the SFST officers, in all sense, very, very similar to the same process. So where there's suspicion of a consumption of any drug, so the officer would have a suspicion of consumption of cannabis, let's use that for example, they will put the driver through a series of roadside tests. If the driver performs poorly on any one of those tests, they're arrested for grounds to believe they are impaired by drug. Okay. They will then be taken to the station where they would be met by a drug recognition expert officer who would evaluate them through a 12-step evaluation process done at the station. Some of that is the seizure of urine, which is tested later on at the Centre of Forensic Science. We can also seize blood on that. So through that testing process, then there's a determination made by the drug recognition officer if this person is in fact impaired by drug or not. Where there's a call made on the impairment portion that the person's actually been assessed as being impaired by drug, the actual DRE officer can narrow it down to what family of drugs that person is actually impaired by based on the testing that they went through. So it's quite a structured process, and again, those are charges. The outcome of the charges from a roadside sanctions standpoint is the same as alcohol. So there's still a 90-day ADLS suspension for the person's driver's license upon the charge being laid. The outcomes in court are the same. So it's very, very similar to the same process as alcohol-related impaired driving.
So in terms of limit in your bloodstream for alcohol, we know what that is, but what about cannabis? Is it 0 or is it?
No, well, it can be depending on the classification of driver. So the minimum amount for an impaired charge in the bloodstream is 2 to 5 nanograms in that area. So when we're dealing with impairment, that would be sort of the bottom or lowest amount that an impaired charge could be laid based on a per se amount of drug in the blood. With respect to some of the other sanctions, though, there is categories under the Ontario Highway Traffic Act that prohibit certain classifications of drivers to have any drug or alcohol in their system whatsoever. So that would be your novice driver, so a Class M1, M2, or G1, G2 driver. Or since July 1st of 2018, they just brought in the new category, which brings in commercial drivers of commercial vehicles. So any driver of a class of vehicle between A and F are prohibited from any alcohol or drug in their system from the Ontario Highway Traffic Act. Also, any drivers of CVR class vehicles, so commercial vehicles from 4,500 kgs and greater, are prohibited from any alcohol or drugs in their system, and also the other category being the operator of a road building machine. So, you start talking cranes, road building equipment, loader tractors, rollers, that kind of thing. They're also prohibited from any alcohol or drugs in their system. So that's a zero tolerance on any whatsoever. And under the Ontario Cannabis Control Act, there's a number of prohibitions with respect to vehicles specifically. Nobody in the vehicle can smoke or vape, for that matter, cannabis. So it doesn't matter if it's a passenger that's using the drug. If it's a passenger, they still can't smoke or vape in that vehicle. So that's one prohibition, therefore, the use of cannabis specifically. Some of the others being open accessible cannabis in the car, so you can't have it in any proximity to the driver in an open accessible state. So it's very similar to the Liquor License Act that way. From an age category, you cannot possess any amount of cannabis under the age of 19. So again, that's something we come across a lot with respect to ride programs and that type of thing in vehicles. So there's a number of limitations with respect to cannabis and vehicles specifically that we come across and have come across frequently since the law has been in place.
Hinsberger says the number of drug-impaired drivers has increased steadily over the past couple of years.
As far as the legalization piece to that, we didn't find any definite spikes in the amount of impaired by drug drivers we've been getting. So again, that is something that I don't know if it was an expectation that would happen or it was the great unknown, but at least locally in Waterloo, we weren't finding any increase because of the legalization of cannabis. I think when you look at, and it's just my own opinion, when you look at the percentages and the clientele that use cannabis, the percentage of people that are going to make a decision because now it's legal and I'm going to start using cannabis would be relatively small in relation to the people who are already using it. So I think that was probably one of the reasons why we didn't see any great spikes in it. Could there be moving forward? It's anybody's guess, and that's something we're going to have to continue monitoring. Well, what we're finding, at least in the last year to 2 years, from a breakdown with our impaired by drug statistics, we're finding more often than not we're having drivers who are impaired by drug, and yes, they are using cannabis, but they're also impaired by other drugs mixed in with the cannabis that we're finding. So there's numerous families of drugs that the DRE officers are identifying in the impaired driver. Only about 30% of the drivers that we've been charging with impaired driving in the last couple of years are impaired by straight cannabis.
Okay.
So it is an interesting trend we were finding, and we're seeing that consistently moving forward as well. So those breakdowns haven't changed a whole lot since we've been keeping stats, at least in the last couple of years.
Research conducted by Ipsos for CAA uncovered the prevalence of poly users, people who consume cannabis and alcohol or other mixed substances during the same time period. Of those surveyed, those that drive under the influence of cannabis are more likely to be male, novice drivers between the ages of 25 and 34. It's that research that prompted CAA's #Don'tDriveHigh campaign.
And so we found that in our study that over 200,000 people had admitted to getting behind the wheel after they had consumed both cannabis and alcohol. And this, impairment is even that much more scarier on our roads. The impacts of mixing those substances is what we call polyuse, and it's dangerous. So our research revealed a few things, and we've done several pieces of research. One was just on general perceptions and attitudes with respect to consuming cannabis. And so we want to get the message out there that, if you're going to partake, fine, just find other ways to get home. But the other part of the research we did was with in a lab with a driving expert, with cannabis experts, who looked at the cognitive abilities or the skills that you need to drive and how cannabis impacts those. And so that research actually has shown that even up to 5 hours after consuming cannabis, it does impact your perception, your judgment, your decision-making skills, your ability to react. And so this is a campaign that is built around some of those simple, fun actions that you would do recreationally any time, but the minute you add something new, like alcohol, or in this particular case, cannabis, it actually can change some of your behaviors and you probably wouldn't have noticed it. We're trying to heighten the awareness that it does impact your abilities.
Wednesday.
Don't peel your potatoes. That's where all the potassium is.
Food personality Teresa Albert serves up a garden fresh, healthy breakfast. Breakfast at Rosehurst on Rogers TV.
The world's most famous Canadian, Grey Owl, just back from a triumphant British tour, is to be a reluctant guest at a gathering of First Nations.
Archie, you may not realize this, but right now you are the most famous Red Indian in the world. These are your people. You have to be there. Come on, Harold, let's go.
Sure, I'm sure. His name is Archie Bellini, and if he's a Red Indian, I'm the King of China.
It is an honor to meet the man called Grey Owl, who has brought much respect for our people.
Imposter, rascal, dreamer. And yet the Englishman who called himself Grey Owl awoke the whole world to our vanishing wilderness.
My brother says, men become what they dream. You have dreamed well.
Tuesday. Chef D takes you from the farm to the table with delicious meals made from locally sourced ingredients. At Home with Chef D on Rogers TV.
My name is Kathy, and I am one of the co-hosts for Guelph Life.
Welcome back. Joining me is Beth.
Rogers TV has taught me to go for it and just try to put myself out there and pursue my passion. I have this platform available to me, and I get to meet some incredible people that put on amazing events throughout the city. And I also just love being a part of my community.
Any crime, anytime, you can make a difference. Sign up for Crime Stoppers alerts and stay connected with what's happening in your community. It's as simple as logging on to WaterlooCrimeStoppers.com, click on the Alerts tab, fill out the form, and you will be in the know. Tipsters are eligible for a cash reward if the information leads to an arrest or charges are laid. Remember, if you see something, say something, and remain anonymous.
A Crime Stoppers tip can play a key role in helping police solve a crime, but there are times when immediacy is the only way to stop a crime or prevent a crime from happening.
I think the most important thing that the community should be aware of is, as much as Crime Stoppers is an integral part of crime prevention, we often rely on providing the information to Crime Stoppers based on just because you're going to have anonymity. We would much rather that information come firsthand to the police. We are an alternative, but the information that you give us goes to police. And again, we protect your anonymity, but in cases of impaired driving, robberies, things that are happening immediately at the moment that you see, as much as it's nice that our community is calling Crime Stoppers, we still would rather that information go to the police first. That's a decision that the person himself has to make. Do they want to call the police and provide their information? But police need the witnesses and firsthand knowledge of what's happening and someone that they can talk to and follow up with. That's the moral dilemma that the tipsters are going to have to deal with themselves. But again, we would encourage, if you want to provide your name and you're not afraid to give the information to the police, that first information goes to the police. And if you choose at that time not to call the police because you want to remain anonymous, then this is where our program really steps up and is able to take the information and make sure that the police get it. You take an example of impaired driving, and we get many tips on impaired drivings. And the issue with the impaired driving is it's happening at the moment. You can call Crime Stoppers, but after the regular after hours, we're receiving calls to our call center. And the call center takes that information, and then there'll be a time delay before that is transferred over to the police. So in those instances, we want that call to the police right away to say that such and such a vehicle is driving on a street and they're swerving, all the signs of impairment, they can explain it to the police, and then we can deal with that in real time rather than a day or two later. In case of impaired driving, if there's no accident, and if you call it in and we get the tip the next day, we still have to prove that that person was driving impaired. And with the time delay, it's hard to do, and it's hard to be able to identify who the driver was. So again, we would rather that information come to the police immediately.
Well, there's some instances where you might call Crime Stoppers if it's not an ongoing, like immediate offense. So you see an impaired driver, driving down the street, and you want to call it in. That's not the time to call Crime Stoppers. That's the time to call 911 because we want an officer to get there and get that person stopped before they kill somebody. On the other side of that, though, Crime Stoppers could be used with a scenario like, I know my neighbor is constantly drinking and driving. I see him all the time getting in and out of the vehicle. He's got an open beer or open whatever, or he's getting in and out of the vehicle and they're smoking drugs, or they're using drugs all the time and getting in and driving. So they don't have a specific time or location of when that's actually happening. Location would be good, but I mean, if we have some information like that this is a reoccurring problem, we can focus on that problem person and hopefully mitigate the problem before, again, they kill somebody. So that's where Crime Stoppers can be of assistance, especially if we get the person stopped and we find them that they are in fact impaired. I mean, that's a really, really good call to make. So it's not necessarily that the person calling Crime Stoppers can supply the immediate offense that it's now ongoing here and now and I'm following them. That's not when you want to use them. But if it's general information that you're aware of it and you know this because you see them every day and they've always got, a joint going when they get out of the car, and you know that they're staggering all over the place when they're going up to the house, that type of information, yeah, we can definitely set up on that person and hopefully stop them before they hurt somebody. So those are the situations where Crime Stoppers can be of assistance.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
It was our 35th anniversary. To celebrate, we were on our way to Mama Rosie's, where we had our first date. That's when we heard coming from the radio. So we stopped and listened. It helped us get to safety. So when I think of our anniversary, because now we have even more to celebrate.
My name is Terry. I'm a Rogers TV volunteer. When I retired, I wanted something to do, something that